Hello, this is Nitin Dahad with the Times, and I'm here with Edward Wilford of Omdia. Hello, Edward, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good. Well, we're at this busy show in London, heart of London, Olympia, IoT, Tech Expo, and many others. You've got Proud Security and whatever. But I guess the big news that we've heard today related to IoT is TI going to be buying Silicon Labs for $7.5 billion. That's huge news.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to see TI retrenching. They had a connectivity arm, has not been doing very much in recent years. Seeing them sort of double down and sort of say, we need the processing, we need the MCUs still, which they're still, obviously the kings of, and we also need the connectivity in one package. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they integrate, if they make it part of TI, or if they keep it as a separate connectivity arm, if they keep all that, the 2.5 and all the space that ST really excels in.
Yeah.
The multiple packaging as well, like the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth together, and the Z-Wave, wholly owned subsidiary more or less of Scilabs. It's an interesting story for how TI progresses. If they say we're going to take this connectivity, we're going to build on it, we're going to build our central TI offering, expand on it. Also interesting to see how they incorporate it into their automotive package. And obviously, as an automotive guy, I'm going to be keeping a special eye on that.
And I mean, I visited the TI fab just recently, and I think one of the things the press release actually says within it, the 28 nanometer fab fits Silicon Labs IoT stuff very well. And I'm thinking, when I went to see Silicon Labs at their annual event in Austin last year, I think they were talking about manufacturing capacity. And I think it's kind of synergistic, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is such a crucial space, because when we had the supply chain crunch, right, it wasn't the cutting edge stuff we ran short of. Yeah. It was the Wi-Fi chips. It was the stuff in that 22, 28 space that was holding everything up. And I think it's really important for them to have that resiliency. And again, supply chain resiliency is going to be a big story for 2026 and probably beyond.
Now, I saw ADI here this morning, and there's a few big players in IoT. Where does that put everybody in your eyes as an analyst? The players TI and ADI and all the others. Yeah.
It's an interesting question. Who really is pure play IoT anymore?
Yeah.
And I don't know what that even is. It's a terrible horizontal in a lot of ways, because what's not embedded, what's not connected. And I think to look at that and sort of say we need to be prepared for this new world of bigger compute, a faster compute, a focused compute that's not necessarily sort of fitting into a box, into sort of an IoT, a narrow IoT box. And I think maybe that's one thing TI is thinking, is that we need to package ththings up. We need to create solutions rather than thinking of ourselves as a player in a particular niche in this industry.
Which is quite interesting when you said who, that it's not very black and white anymore. Yeah. I did a panel last night in London on ambient intelligence. Mm-hmm. Now that's in all kinds of words, edge AI, edge intelligence, but it was sort of semi-tech, non-tech audience, and it was quite a passionate conversation, and actually it is quite, the lines are blurring. There are some people who understand something, other things, but there's people who are now building the full stack to deliver that, because not everybody can do these things, can they?
No, exactly. Well, what's interesting as well to me is how we used to think of this stuff as really sort of existing on its own. And automotive especially, again, was its own thing. Automotive was a little weird off on its own. And now we're sort of saying, well, if it's safe enough for automotive, if it's powerful enough for automotive, what can't you do with it? And then you begin to think, well, is this an industrial play? What is the difference between an autonomous forklift and an autonomous car?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the cargo is sort of insured at different rates. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. And really, what's the difference between an autonomous kiosk and an autonomous car? Slightly different safety concerns. But if you think of all this stuff as overlays, there is embedded, there is secure embedded, there is secure embedded connected, intelligent, secure connected embedded intelligent, safe. You're just adding on layers to stuff rather than saying this exists on its own as an island.
And that's one of the questions that was asked last night. What about regulatory? Because when you're talking about cloud AI, it's all about Big Brother and whatever. That's kind of what they were saying. But when you're talking about edge, there's not really that Big Brother issue, but it's more about that safety, security. At CES, I tested these blind sunglasses. Blind glasses for the blind. And it's all about safety, but the clever bit is the guy was working in Bosch or in Continental, and the same autonomous vehicle technology is being applied to these glasses.
Sure.
Basically, it's steering your autonomous using haptics.
It makes perfect sense. What is interesting to me though is we do, and I love the edge, right? I love what we can do with intelligent edge, but we tend to think that the edge solves the problem, right? Nothing dies on the edge, right? You can't have things that just live there and aren't connected. We are sending everything up to the cloud eventually in some form.
Yeah.
And we need to you need to build that into your thinking from day one of development, from day zero of development.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's switch gears. I've just done a piece on software-defined vehicles, but you do a lot on the automotive, on software-defined.
Yeah.
But I mean, many years ago we talked about software-defined radios and then et cetera, but I think we're moving into a realm of software-defined everything. Tell me a little bit about your views on that.
No, it's interesting to me. I mean, you can't have... It's this era of transformation that's enabling it, right? We are going to a new digital era, and if you're in a digital era, a software-defined architecture simply makes sense, right? Why rely on the vagaries of hardware when you can sort of prepare for a future and sort of build yourself into this world, build yourself up for success. Say we are ready to sort of shift the hardware as we need, we are ready to pivot on the march as we need, so why not let yourself, the day you ship is the day that product's at its worst, and you're getting better every day after that. I think that intuitively makes a lot of sense, and sort of it does enable this world where there are fewer boundaries. To say let's let the software define us, as we are in that day, as we are moving forward. We can then transition as we need to.
And we have the compute platforms, even at the edge, to enable that. But that's great. Now, normally it's been raining here, but on a sunny day, what's on your mind on a sunny day in London here? What else is on your mind?
It's interesting to me, the conversations that I'm having about things like agentic AI, right? The most difficult problem in the world is getting two systems to work together.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the more that we're figuring out the hard problems of that, the happier we will be. And it's a little happy-clappy for me. It's like agentic is going to solve our problem in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And, oh, fantastic. Well, the systems will just know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's a few years ago with Gen AI, it was putting a little man in everything, right? Oh, but we'll...
The little Jensen...
exactly, we'll put a little...
avatar.
And it will know what to do. And we're still relying on problems that will sort themselves out through us being really good at compute. And I am skeptical that that's going to bail us out. So I want agentic to work, but I want people to be working on the hard problems of it and not just sort of looking ahead to the money and the revenue and the fun things that we'll be able to do. Sort of how do we get these systems to work together seamlessly in a way that is safe and in a way that is that we don't need to observe it constantly.
Now, the other sort of always emerging technology, I guess, is RISC-V.
Yes.
And we've seen ups and downs, and we've got challenges with some of the companies. What are your thoughts on that while we're together? I mean, we don't get very many opportunities to talk.
We don't. I mean, I love RISC-V. I'm evangelical about RISC-V. I still don't think we found exactly where it needs to be today.
Yeah.
And I always say that what RISC-V can't be is ARM, but less so, right? I don't think there is a path to sort of it being a new, you license this, you license these processors. I think it works spectacularly well in areas where things like profiles, right, where you can focus your ISA for an application. It works great on that. For the flexible, scalable side of it, again, where you can just sort of say, well, we'll just add some more cores because we need some more compute. It makes a lot of intuitive sense to me, but I think it is a partnership with ARM, and we need to look at a whole semiconductor environment and not just that it's not one or the other, right? And the more that we build that into our roadmaps for stuff, the happier that ARM will be, the happier RISC-V will be. I'm happy that whatever the next technology in that space will be as well.
Well, it's interesting because I think I interviewed Alan Wu of Qualab in China last November, and he was talking about how he's trying to build this heterogeneous platform that is lower cost to deploy. And I've got a video online now to explain that. But it's quite interesting that nobody's really found a model to make them money. And I think
exactly. And if we don't find that, then this is all just an exercise, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, back to our square one, the M&A. Behind me is Edge Impulse. Behind us is Edge Impulse there, the Qualcomm. There's been some big M&As towards the end of last year. I don't think we've seen the last with this one there's going to be a lot more, aren't there?
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of this. Again, it's going to be chasing revenue and looking forward to future efficiencies and future operational synergies, for an overused word. But I think people will need to find a way to sort of to package themselves as a solution and not just as a one-trick pony. Again, like looking for that ecosystem play, that all-in play where they have as many strengths as possible and they're solving a problem as a company.
I think the pattern I also saw towards the end of last year, beyond that, is also looking for that wider non-tech industrial customer base.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what we
absolutely.
saw with Nvidia and Siemens, and then this what do you call it? Synopsys and
Synopsys.
Ansys, but many more. So I think it's going to be a lot more of, okay, how do we widen our net, our commercial strategies? How do we enable that? And I think that's kind of where it's going as well.
Absolutely. I think people are really looking to pivot away from, you don't want to serve one master, be it an industry, be it a client. You want to open your doors to as many focused opportunities as possible, and you want to give yourself multiple windows and doors
Which
to
is
go
why
out of.
Edge Impulse, Raspberry
exactly,
Pi, all of these have gone
Yeah.
to those big players, because these big players are looking, okay, we've done this, now how do we widen?
Exactly.
Well, good. Well, Edward, thank you very much. It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll catch each other at another trade show soon.
We will bump into each other again, absolutely. Thanks so
All right.
much, Ed.
Thank you.